funny. I actually wrote this April 1st, 2019, and I titled it Abimelek and the Shechemite Scandal. So this was written nearly 2 years ago, I'd say, on April 1st, 2019. And so it's basically from a book in the Bible called Judges. Judges 4 through 6 is the head verse. And basically says they gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baal-berith, and Abimelek used it to hire reckless scoundrels who became his followers. He went to his father's home in Ophrah, and on one stone murdered his 70 brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, escaped by hiding. Then all the citizens of Shechem and Beth Milo gathered beside the great tree at the pillar in Shechem to crown Abimelek king. That's Judges 9:4 through 6. And so Abimelek basically had this plan to make himself king. This was back when Israel hadn't had its first official king. The first official king was Saul, but this guy just comes out of the woodwork, suddenly tries to make himself king, and he succeeds for just a short time. But basically, so he talks these people who are just as unsavory as he is, into making him king. And he wins them over, and he persuades them. He ended up taking some of the money from the temple of Baal-berith and used the proceeds to hire reckless scoundrels who became his followers, basically. It says, he banded together unscrupulous, underhanded people like himself and then goes out to kill his competition. Earlier on, Gideon helped free the Israelites from Midian oppression. Gideon's sons were leading the people, but Abimelek takes his band of scoundrel and kills his half-brothers, 70 of them to be precise, the sons of Gideon. Yet Abimelek does not have a loyalty of loyal and decent people. We got to remember that. As we can see in this story, a great following is only as good as the ones who follow. If the following is just, honest, and upright good people, then that is far more secure than gaining loyalty from selfish, underhanded, and unrighteous people. True colors eventually come out. As we see in this story, the people he gained as his subject easily betrayed the household of Gideon, and Gideon had done so much for them, so much good for them, so much good for the nation. How much less then should their loyalty be true to someone as underhanded as Abimelek was? And so we'll see throughout this story, there's some events that happen that end up becoming the demise of both Abimelek and the people that he ruled over. And though temporarily there was a common consensus and loyalty to him, it was very, very superficial and short-lived. Jotham came out and gave some counsel and a prophetic word that actually took place on the matter, and he starts off saying, but an olive tree answered, should I give up my oil, by which both the gods and humans are honored, and hold sway over trees? Next the trees said to the fig tree, come and be our king. But the fig tree replied, should I give up my fruit, so good and sweet, to hold sway over the trees? Then the trees said to the vine, come and be our king. But the vine answered, should I give up my wine, which cheers both gods and humans, to hold sway over the trees? Finally the trees said to a thorn bush, come, be our king. And the thorn bush said to the trees, if you really want to anoint me king over you, come take refuge in my shade. But if not, then let fire come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon. Have you acted honorably and in good faith by making Abimelek king? Have you been fair to Jerubbaal and his family? Have you treated him as he deserves? Remember that my father fought for you and risked his life to rescue you from the hands of Midian. But today you have revolted against my father's family. You have murdered his 70 sons on a single stone, and have made Abimelek, the son of a female slave, king over the citizens of Shechem, because he is related to you. So basically they just did it because they had some kind of relation to him. So have you acted honorably and in good faith towards Jerubbaal and his family today? If you have, may Abimelek be your joy, and may you be his too. But if you have not, let fire come out from Abimelek and consume you, the citizens of Shechem and Beth Milo, and let fire come out from you, the citizens of Shechem and Beth Milo, and consume Abimelek. So he's saying, if you weren't underhanded in doing this, then so be it. But if you were sneaky and devious in this process, then let the fires come out from one another and destroy each other. And so in the span of time, this actually did happen, as predicted, as this guy, this Jotham, one of the sons that escaped, gives this prophetic word, and the Lord actually uses him to speak sense into this people and to tell them this so that when it happened, they would know that they were getting exactly what they deserved. I think that's what it was for. Because sometimes God in the Bible would give someone a prophetic word, and he's like, and then you will know that it was me when it happens. When this happens to you, you will know it is I who brought it about. And so after Abimelek had governed Israel, we're going to start with Judges 9:22 through 29. After Abimelek had governed Israel 3 years, God stirred up animosity between Abimelek and the citizens of Shechem, so they acted treacherously against Abimelek. God did this in order that the crime of Jerubbaal and his 70 sons, the shedding of their blood, might be avenged on their brother Abimelek and on the citizens of Shechem, who had helped murder his brothers. In opposition, these citizens of Shechem set men on hilltops to ambush and rob everyone who passed by. And this was reported to Abimelek. Now Gaal, son of Ebed, moved with his clan to Shechem, and its citizens put confidence in him. After they had gone into the fields and gathered grapes and trodden on them, they held a festival in the temple of their god. Who is Abimelek? And why should we Shechemites be subject to him? Isn't he Jerubbaal's son, and isn't Zebul his deputy? Serve the family of Hamor, Shechem's father. Why should we serve Abimelek? If only this people were under my command, then I would get rid of him. I would say, Abimelek, come out with your whole army. Over time, Abimelek's subjects grew tired of him and their new king, and they got less excited as time progressed. The loyalty to him was very short-lived. It was only 3 years. They got sick of him after 3 years. And Gaal, or however you pronounce his name, tries to pull the same card that Abimelek earlier tried to pull. And he says, well, why don't I try this? And so after Abimelek overhears it, he begins to march down that way with his army, and the people of Shechem fight against Abimelek, and Abimelek kills many of them. And then we'll pick up in Judges 39:37 through 57. But Gaal spoke up again. Look, the people are coming down from the central hill, and the company is coming from the direction of the diviner's tree. Then Zebul said, where is your big talk now, you who said, who is Abimelek that we should be subject to him? Aren't these the men you ridiculed? Go out and fight them. So Gaal led out the citizens of Shechem and fought Abimelek. Abimelek chased him all the way to the entrance of the gate, and many were killed as they fled. Then Abimelek stayed in Aramah, and Zebul drove Gaal and his clans out of Shechem. The next day the people of Shechem went out to the fields, and this was reported to Abimelek. So he took his men, divided them into 3 companies, and set an ambush in the field. When he saw the people coming out of the city, he rose to attack them. Abimelek and the companies attacked those in the fields and struck them down. All that day Abimelek pressed his attack against the city until he had captured it and killed its people. Then he destroyed the city and scattered salt over it. On hearing this, the citizens of the Tower of Shechem went into the strongholds of the temple of El-Berith. When Abimelek heard that they had assembled there, he and all his men went up to Mount Zalmon, and he took an axe and cut some branches with which he lifted to his shoulders, he ordered the men with him, "Quick, do what I have done, what you have seen me do." So the men cut branches, and Sorry, lost my place. "Do what you have seen me do." So all the men cut the branches and followed Abimelech. They piled them against the stronghold and set it on fire with the people still inside. So all the people in the tower of Shechem, about 1,000 men and women, also died. Next, Abimelech went to Thebes, besieged it, and captured it. Inside, let's see, where did I lost my place? Captured it. Men and women also died. Next Abimelech went to Thebes, besieged it, and captured it. Inside the city, however, there was a strong tower, to which all the men and women and all the people of the city fled, and they locked themselves in and climbed up on the tower roof. Abimelech went to the tower and attacked it. But as he was approaching the entrance to the tower to set it on fire, a woman dropped an upper millstone on his head and cracked his skull. Hurriedly, he called to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and kill me, so they can't say a woman killed him." Now that is one of those funny passages. You would think that if you were a reasonable person, you would not be thinking about who cracked your head open at that point. You'd just be like, "Oh my gosh, my head is busted open, and my brains are about to come out." But, he in his ego didn't want it to be known that a woman dropped the rock on his head, basically. So, and the millstone is a very heavy, like rock-like object that is used to crush grain. And so it's very heavy, so she pushed it out of the window somehow, and it landed right on his head. And so he said, "Draw your sword and kill me, so they can't say a woman killed me." So his servants ran through, and he died. When the Israelites saw Abimelech was dead, they went home. Thus God repaid the wickedness that Abimelech had done to his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God also made the people of Shechem pay for their wickedness. The curse of Jotham, of Jerubbaal, son of Jerubbaal, came on them. That's Judges 9:37 through 57. The Bible speaks about a throne cannot be built on unrighteousness. A leader can't be better than the quality of his following often. Meaning, good leaders are those who often have a following of good people who do what's right, upright, decent themselves. Yet bad leaders must give some incentive to win over selfish people, who must be bought with some offer to their own self-interest. It says in Proverbs 12:3, "No one can be established through wickedness, but the righteous cannot be uprooted." If one gathers a following by being underhanded and doing wrong, they will attract people who likewise do the same as they do. Often, this opens that person up to the possibility they will slight someone and just as underhanded as they are. And if you gather bad folks to follow you, it must mean if you're a bad kind of character and you gather a bad following, just beware, you're dealing with the same kind of people like you are, So gathering such people to himself, he should have realized they could have betrayed him, and they did. Just as he betrayed, he got betrayed. Yet, to make noble goals and inspire others to do noble things, to do good and to be an upright soul, that will attract souls who see the worth of good in the upright souls. You can get far more trust and decency from decent people by being a decent person, and than those who are crooked and unfaithful in their ways. For example, criminals, they can't really trust their own partners, like someone robs bank and there's been times where one of the guys turned on and shot the other to take all the money, so not the best idea. On a number of occasions, their own criminal partners become their number one enemy, just waiting to be revealed. And this is a true passage and shows us a very valuable lesson. We should be decent people, we should be good people, we should be godly people, that earn the respect of people by doing what is right, not being crooked. God bless.